How important do you think sound is to a podcast? And I'm asking that not necessarily because I want you to say that you need pristine, perfect audio, but just, what can people do just to make sure that it's the bare minimum, that it doesn't hurt your ears?
Yeah. Well, number one, today when we started, we wanted my level to be up in the green, kind of occasionally into the yellow. That's number one. If it's way down, you have these little bars when you talk into stuff usually. And if you're just barely making the green stuff blink, you're leaving the door wide open for hiss. And what happens then? Are there tools that can remove the hiss? Yeah, but it's much easier if you just record things right the first way.
Garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah, I know a lot of people love the Blue Yeti microphone, and it's not a bad microphone. Giant asterisk, underline, bold, italics, a question, exclamation point, if you use it properly. But it comes with a little desk stand. And so people will take it and they'll put it about, 2.5 feet away from them. And then it picks up in every direction. And it just sounds like you're in a fishbowl, where I always tell people you should be about 3 finger widths from your microphone, have it pointing kind of at your mouth, but maybe at the corner of your mouth, or so you're kind of talking across it. And that way you don't get plosives. I just had somebody today that asked me, and I forget what just everything had a P and a B in it. And it just was, rattling the tonsils out of my teeth. And I was like, and if the answer is, well, we can fix that with a plug-in, which is true in many cases, not in all cases, but I just had somebody that sent me horrendous audio, and I cleaned up all the room verb, and I just made up a new word, room verb. It's not reverb. It's reverb from the room. But anyway.
Sure.
And they had a bunch of plosives. And so I had just this stack of plugins that it came out. But what normally would have taken about 5 minutes to export the file took about 35 because it was running through all these processes. So, like you said, garbage in, garbage out, or you're going to watch your time just tick away cleaning that stuff up. So I always say more planning equals less editing. And so in that case, if somebody comes in, if you're doing interviews and somebody wants to use the built-in laptop microphone, I just go, no. And they're like, oh, but they're your guest. And I go, yes, but your guest has come in and kind of went poo-poo on the living room carpet. And you wouldn't let somebody do that. You would ask them to leave and just say, look, you're not ready to come on the show yet. Go get yourself a Samson Q2U. It's $70. You'll be fine. So
Yeah. I mean, I'm lucky in that this particular podcast, we talk about sound. That's what we talk about. So I kind of assume that the people I have on this show know a little bit about good sound and how to be on a podcast. Not always, it doesn't always work out that way, but for the majority, I'm lucky that it does. And
the other thing was, last week I was on tour. I spent 20 hours driving all over Ohio, talking to different places. And I work from home, so I don't drive a ton. And now I was listening to all these podcasts, and I was amazed how many times I had to ride the volume knob because somebody would be talking and then somebody would come in and they're a much lower volume. And then normally, even in a quiet room, you might be able to get away with that, but not when there's now noise from the tires and the atmosphere. And I was just like, wow, there's a lot of really bad audio out there. And there are tools. There's Alphonic. There's all sorts of things you can do to make things level. And that's the other one besides the whole, reverb room and, the dog barking and things like that. Some of the stuff you can't avoid. Kids are not really, a 3-year-old doesn't care that daddy's recording a podcast, but you can still, try to, bribe them with cookies or something to be quiet.
Do the best you can. Yeah. There's lots of things to improve the quality there. One of the biggest things that I see, and you mentioned this with the Blue Yeti before, is not being close enough to the mic. Because if you're not close enough to the mic, then you're hearing all of the room reverberation. You're hearing everything around you. And even using the Blue Yeti, all you have to do is change it to cardioid.
Cardioid? Put that bad boy on a stand.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard people that, I've heard people sound brilliant. And I go, what microphone are you using? They're like, the Blue Yeti. I go, you have it on a stand, don't you? And they're like, yeah, it's, I just bring it over when I'm ready to record. Yeah. It's, and it's that, again, that kind of reverb sound, what it does is you go from being the voice in someone's head, right? That's just really there, to now I'm sitting in the room with you. It's just a different dynamic. It's the same way for me when I do a podcast. I don't go, hey guys, today I'm like, hey, I'm so glad you're here. I talk to one person. And consequently, when I am lucky enough to run into somebody who's listened to my show, they go, I kind of feel like you're talking to me. And I'm like, that's because I am.
That's the point. Yeah.
Yeah.